Hey, it's Mr. Ripka reading Neruda during Corona. This is a hallmark day. We have reached poem 30. 30 days. Whew! And 30 poems. It's been a good time. Just because it's been 30 days, it's a good time to review a little bit of the mission in a way of what we're doing. We're reading this entire book, the Book of Questions, which comprises 74 poems. Each poem has questions, sometimes 3, sometimes 5 questions, most of the time 4. And we're going to be reading one poem a day. Yes, there's 74, so we're on day 30. The next hallmark day will probably be 37, because that'll be halfway through. 1 week from today. All right, so let's go ahead and read this a small paragraph to just kind of let us remind ourselves of the power of this book. It says, "The Book of Questions fulfills a traditional role of all the best poetry. Perhaps its greatest gift is to assist us in teaching ourselves how to perceive and sense by focusing the inner quest. When we sit, or when we run in place," that's in quotes there, "with images and sounds, rather than flee farther into our rational mind, the imagination quietly reawakens to the possibilities of wonder and awe. In this state, we may ask our own unanswerable questions, and might come to find reflected in ourselves the world beyond mind and sight." It's a epic endeavor what we, you, I, Neruda, are all three doing here. This epic endeavor to find ourselves perhaps in a world beyond mind and sight in the imagination. Here we go. Let's start our journey to get beyond mind and sight for today. Yes, here we go. In Spanish. Cuando escribió su libro azul, Rubén Darío no era verde, no era escarlata Rimbaud, Góngora de color violeta, y Víctor Hugo, tricolor, y yo a listones amarillos. Se juntan todos los recuerdos de los pobres de las aldeas, y en una caja mineral guardaron sus sueños los ricos. All right. We have the 5 questions here. The first 3 are have literary characters. Interesting. And the next 2 don't. Interesting. Also, the next 2, though, have to do with being poor, pobres, and being rich, ricos, which, if you remember, he talked about on poem 28 about being poor a little bit. So he likes to bring up that imagery also. Here we go. The first question. When he wrote his blue book, wasn't Rubén Darío green? Rubén Darío is a 20th century Nicaraguan poet, kind of in the modernismo, in the modernism movement. So when he wrote his blue book, wasn't he green? Interesting. Maybe he was young, very young then, because the next poet, Rimbaud, in French, he's a French poet. He was young too. It says, wasn't Rimbaud scarlet? Góngora, a shade of violet? So there's these colors he's connecting to these poets. Rimbaud, of course, the French 19th century poet. Symbolism, he's into symbolism, symbolist poet. Góngora is a Spanish poet from the 15 and 1600s, very much different than Rimbaud and Darío. So we have a Nicaraguan modern poet, then we have a French symbolist poet from the 19th century, and then we have a Spanish poet from the 16th century who's more of a Baroque poet, if we can use that word, that description. And now the third question. And Victor Hugo, tricolored, and I, yellow ribbons. Victor Hugo, of course, we all have heard of him, the French poet, novelist, dramatist. Everybody knows Les Miserables, of course, Les Mis. He's very famous for that. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. But he also wrote a plethora of poetry, like tomes of poetry. So anyway, those three questions all together. And then he says, and I, right? And I, Pablo Neruda, in my yellow ribbons. All right, so here they are. When he wrote the Blue Book, wasn't Ruben Dario green? Wasn't Rimbaud scarlet? Gongora a shade of violet? And Victor Hugo tricolored? And I, yellow ribbons. So that's 3 of the 5 questions. The next 2, here they are. It says, do all memories of the poor huddle together in the villages? And do the rich keep their dreams in a box carved from minerals? So that one has to do with memories and dreams. Oh, yes. And do the rich keep their dreams in a box carved from minerals? Well, I hope you have a wonderful day and you have some wonderful dreams wherever you decide to keep them. And we'll see you tomorrow for Poem 31. Thanks again.